Hello and welcome back to another episode of Promote the Hell Out of It. I hope you're all finding your groove for 2021, getting into the swing of things. I am back with another great conversation that was really encouraging to have with rapper from Ireland, JYellowL, who's absolutely smashing it. He was on the FIFA 20 soundtrack. He's got a new album out this year called 2020 Division, which has been nominated for the Choice Awards for Irish Album of the Year. He is really representing Ireland and doing some amazing things, which were obviously thrown all over the place by the year 2020 and everything that came along with it. But it's an amazing conversation. We chat about everything he's been up to. Also how he led a demonstration for Black Lives Matter in Ireland. We chat about his attitude towards hard work and keeping positive, his Nigerian heritage. It's literally a conversation full of really encouraging stuff, and he's someone to really be watching. Definitely go check them out. Listen to the new album because it's a banger. Get some merch, which is up on Bandcamp, all that stuff. And yeah, I really hope you enjoy the conversation. Give me a shout, let me know, leave us a review, all that jazz. So yeah, anyway, enjoy this conversation with JYellowL. I've been really excited to talk to you because you have been up to some incredible stuff. Honestly, it's really inspiring to see what you've done.
Thank you, man.
And it's really cool as well to chat to someone who's taken 2020 in the stride by the looks of it and kept busy, right? Like,
Literally.
you haven't given up. What's kept that positive attitude going?
I guess I've just been purpose driven really the whole year, and I know that I have things that I needed to do, and I was just determined to get them done. And I know based on my experience that when it comes to how things turn out, you seldom have control over the entire situation, and your efforts are your own ultimately. So I knew I just had to do what I needed to do, and I was going to find a way to do it regardless. And that was with starting record label, releasing the album, and making sure I released the best possible album, and then gave it the best chance possible to succeed as well. So I was going to do that regardless of whatever was going on around me, and I found the best way to stay active amidst the global pandemic, and get in touch with my fan base, my listeners, stay as engaged with them as possible, and give them the best possible project or body of work that I could have. So yeah, that's all that's kept me going. It's just been my sole purpose to get this album out to the people and to the world. So that's what drove me the whole year.
The album was coming anyway. You'd already planned on releasing in 2020?
Exactly. I planned on releasing, but not exactly the way that I ended up releasing. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of a situation of I had to change my plans so many times, because obviously at the start of the year, everything is one way. Everything was normal in a sense. And then come March, there's a spanner thrown in the works, and there's so much uncertainty. So I changed my plans and went back to the drawing board. I had a whole different release schedule. And then just trying to figure everything out, I started making way more music, collaborating with more people, releasing more music, just while I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get the album out. And then at some point I was just like, man, you know what? Then nothing is ever going to be perfect. There's never going to be the right time. So I'd have to just do it. And I found the best way to do it, I think. And yeah, everything's been going well.
And you planned on doing a tour with Nelly, right?
Yes.
Was that part of the release plan that you originally had, I'm guessing?
Of course. So I had the tour. I'd just come off tour with the game, and then we're meant to go on tour with Nelly. And I was like, okay, cool. So actually, I'm going to find a way to tie in maybe a couple of singles in with this tour, and maybe launch a couple of singles on stage as well, and just, have a really nice, create moments. I wanted to create moments with my releases, with the tours and all the shows we had planned as well. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So I just kind of had to had to improvise, go back to the drawing board. I was like, okay, we'll revisit certain things. And yeah, it's not ideal circumstances. It's not how you had it planned, but our superpower is adaptation, and we have to adapt.
That's it.
So,
and it sets you apart as well, because a lot of people can just get stuck in that moment and not do anything and not release 100%. Anything or not record anything. So that sets you as the next level up, Yeah,
100%. And I guess what I substituted for performances and live shows, I was creating and releasing music. I think 2020 was my most prolific year for releasing music and even creating music as well. So I'm grateful for that. And I guess as an artist, the three things you love are creating the music, performing the music, and releasing the music. Those are the three things that's how I see my career. So one of them was taken away from me, and I never let the creativity side. Nothing can stop that unless someone literally infiltrated my mind. And the releasing music, luckily, wasn't inhibited by the what's going on in the world. So I was thankful I was just able to overcompensate with those two other aspects of my job.
And the album is amazing. Honestly, it sounds incredible, and I will touch more on that. But first, I guess I wanted to touch on the actual record label, like setting up the record label. Was that again something you had planned already?
Yeah, 100%. So I guess with the album, my purpose for the album was to create something for the scene. I wanted to create not just a moment. I didn't want to be a moment. I wanted there to be lasting impact. And I always knew that I wanted to be. I didn't always know, but before I started making the album, I'd known, because that was what prompted me to make the album. I'd known that I wanted to be a representative of the scene on a global scale and pull other people through, because there's so much talent where I'm from. Yeah. So I needed a way to do that and make it measurable. I needed a way to measure that support for the scene. So I needed to be able to create something that would allow me to put other people on. And it's not an immediate thing for right after the album, but it could be a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year plan of bringing other people through, and so many other people through, so many sick artists. We have so many sick rappers, singers, writers, everything on that little island. So I want to be a boost for them. I want to get myself to a point where a cosign from JYellowL is going to mean something to someone's career. Do you know what I'm saying? Which is why at the moment I'm the only artist signed to my label. But I know that eventually, when I'm able to bring people through, I'll be able to help them. I'll be able to really, really help them, help their careers.
That's awesome. And I think that it's so needed, the representing the Irish scene, and it's so cool that you're taking that on board. And there's things that have helped, obviously, like the little documentary from the rap game that you were on, things like that. But I think that why does it take so long for people to notice anything that isn't the obvious, anything that isn't an obvious accent? It seems ridiculous that people can't notice these things, honestly.
100%. The idea that there is, I don't think anyone actively thinks that there's no talent in certain places. I think it's just not been brought to their attention, which is where we're at the moment.
Yeah.
I think actually the first battle you face as an artist coming from one of these scenes is having to convince the people around you that you are actually worth listening to and that you are talented. That's the first battle, and that's an uphill battle in itself, because you face a unique strain of crabs in a barrel mentality with that, people not wanting to listen to your music just because they know you, or not thinking your music is worth listening to just because you're accessible. Do you get what I kind of mean? So that's the first struggle everywhere. So it's not even about other people paying attention. Actually, the first battle is getting people around you to give you that respect as a creative, as an artist, and actually to recognize that you are a force to be reckoned with musically.
For sure.
Career.
And would you say that obviously for you, you moved to Ireland? What was it when you were 14? Was it?
Yeah, in 2012.
So when you're talking about gaining people respect, you're doing so like twice as much as maybe other, say, white artists in Ireland.
100%, because you're not only trying to convince people to listen to your music, you're also trying to convince people to take you seriously. First and foremost, just as a human being, and like you're trying to get accepted, get that social proof and social recognition and everything. Especially coming in at an age of 14, where like teenagers can be very hellish.
Yeah.
Coming into thrown into a society at that age, where most of your interactions are centered around banter. You often find yourself being the butt of so many jokes. Do you understand? So that's a difficult experience in itself. But I guess I've not always enjoyed it, but I guess once I realized my purpose and I wanted to make music, I wasn't going to allow anything stop me, regardless of the hand I was dealt, if you like. I just kind of looked at everything as a positive, and I tried making everything, literally everything, work in my favor.
And what about your outlook? Because with stuff like that, and especially being into hip hop, it can be very easy to focus your attention on writing stuff that's pretty cruel or almost getting back at people. How have you focused on stuff that's actually talking about real issues, keeping like quite a positive attitude in a scene that can be quite negative at times?
I guess it's difficult, it's definitely difficult. And, as an artist, you kind of rely on, not necessarily, but sometimes you rely on the external world to give you inspiration. So I guess how I've kind of dealt with that is using and harnessing these experiences for my own good. Back to the thing I was saying about allowing everything to work in my favor, even things that people would see as disadvantages, or, a bad hand being dealt, or whatever, or difficulty, I always looked at as an advantage. And one way I harness negative situations is definitely to repurpose them and recreate them musically. So that's kind of how I've looked at it. I maintain the positive attitude. I'm not always a beacon of positivity, though.
No, of course. So, yeah.
But,
and I think that would make it a very one-dimensional, like your music, very one-dimensional as well. You need all those emotions to make it 360.
Yeah, 100%.
And then talking about representing the Irish music scene, like by moving to Ireland, it means that you're actually representing like your culture as well, not just music coming from Ireland, but where you came from as well.
100%. It's interesting you said that, because no one actually looks at it that way, apart from obviously people around me. But yeah, I'm also a representative of my heritage whilst in Ireland, as well as much as I am a representative of Ireland to the wider world. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like,
for sure.
But again, this is something that I really look at as a positive. For sure. I'm actually blessed to have that much, to be that culturally informed. Having that much, that richness in my heritage, and as part of me.
Absolutely, yeah.
To get me, that cultural diversity is actually something that I often refer to always in my music. And even as of right now, I'm in Nigeria on holiday, visiting family.
Oh, wow.
100% visiting family. I'm loving it here, reconnecting with
awesome.
the soil. It's been like 5 years since I've been back, and this has been genuinely the best 3-4 weeks of my recent life.
That's amazing, honestly. And I think that there's so much that comes from having an upbringing that involves two cultures, because cultures towards, say, things like family, religion, how you treat other people, like it can be very different, and having those two outlooks makes you a more rounded individual.
Yeah, 100%. And just that cultural nuance, and being able to pick up different cultural nuances, like from the Nigerian part of my upbringing, the Jamaican part of my upbringing, the Irish part of my upbringing as well. That's like, I'm so lucky to be in that situation. Anyone else who's in that situation as well, or similar situations like yourself, is very, very blessed to have that cultural information, because that's something that people have to travel for, literally have to up and leave to gain that that culture, but you have it just by being. So it's definitely something to look for as a positive, 100%.
And do you think it's something that can take a while to embrace? Like, especially if you're living surrounded by people, it's easier sometimes, especially when you're young, to try and conform. Is it something that took you a while to think about?
Oh, 100%. I think when you just move as a teenager, especially going back up to the thing of like most interactions being banter based, a lot of your time is spent trying not to be the butt of someone else's joke. You know what I'm saying? So I would do a lot of things to try and conform. Like I used to perm my hair so much back in the day to get it so I could do certain hairstyles that the other kids were doing. You get me? Like the white kids or my friends, that kind of thing, or even like mispronouncing my name on purpose because I wanted to make it easier for someone else to pronounce, and things like that. But I think what made me really overcome that was the realization that of my difference, actually not looking at it as a difference with the negative connotation, but as a uniqueness. And that's what really changed my mindset. I think I must have been about 16, 17. And I was like, you know what? I don't need to try and fit in. Why am I taking away parts of myself to fit into this linear structure? Whereas I'm actually, as a whole, I'm special. Do you understand? Like I'm great with myself. I'm actualized in my heritage. So I'm good. I don't need to conform. And that changed around like I say 16, 17, and I got this outlook that I have.
And then from there, it's quite obvious that the outlook's changed, because this year with the Black Lives Matter rally, which you led in Ireland, what was your thinking with that, considering what we've just talked about? What was your initial reaction? Did you instantly want to get out?
100%. I wanted to stand in solidarity for sure, because what actually amazed me was the fact that so many people were like, yeah, but that's not happening on our shores, so like it's not our business. And I just thought about it like, I feel like as a race, we're a social species, we're a communal species. Like we need each other, right? And that shows in times of like when everything is good. Everyone is so quick to listen to music from all over the world and so quick to take on dances and all these fun challenges that are global trends and all this stuff. And every other person in the club is doing all sorts of dances that are from America or whatever, and benefiting from African American culture when it's good. But then in this time when we need each other to come together in the face of injustice, and there's this negligence of, but that's not in Ireland, that's not on our shores.
It's horrible, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Are we only united in times of, like in blissful times? Because it's not always blissful. Like if you're going to, you get what I'm saying? If we're going to share in each other's happiness, we have to share in each other's pain when we need support. You get me? And that was where I was coming from. And it was also a case of, and things like this don't actually happen on our shores as of yet. But, there's strong arguments to be made that there's a lot of racism in Ireland. That's just facts. There's a lot of racism in Ireland. There's a lot of racism everywhere. And, in the West, there's a lot of discrimination in the world. I mean, that's just a human trait. We find a way to divide. We find a way to uplift. And we find a way to put down. Like no matter what it comes out in, elitism, racism, xenophobia, all of this stuff, homophobia, we find a way to just be bad to each other. We find a way.
Yeah, the most horrible, yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So it was a case of also letting people know that we also have our own experience, our unique experience here in Ireland as a Black Irish community, that a lot of you people who are making these claims saying, but there's no racism in Ireland, so what are you protesting for, actually need to know about. Because it just, to me, I don't look at it as, this person is being hateful towards me, or just, trying to just make my life more difficult than it is or whatever. I look at it as this person is genuinely ignorant and doesn't actually know. Obviously, there are people who are hateful. There's two strains of racism, in my opinion: the hate-based and the ignorance-based. Like, when I hear those kind of things, I know, and you kind of need to develop a filter to discern which is which. You know what I'm saying? But when I hear those kind of things, I know, like, this person is just ignorant. I mean, we know there's a cure for ignorance, which is education and enlightenment. So if we don't do it, we're the generation to do it. And if we don't do it, then it's going to, like, the people afterwards are going to suffer even worse than we have. So, yeah, that was my thinking around and even look at what happened recently, you know what I'm saying? With, George and Kencho, rest his soul. The guy who got gunned down by, 15 guarders, 5 shots, and in front of his home, and shot him dead.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Obviously, there's no way to prove that it was racially motivated, but there's this very strong argument. Sorry, can you give me 1 second? I need to plug this laptop into the charger, otherwise it's gonna die. Sorry, give me 1 second.
It's alright.
Hi, sorry, I just did a sprint across the whole house.
It's so good.
Yeah, we're good.
There's nothing that annoys me more when you're watching someone on YouTube and you can see the little battery of their laptop's about to die.
Honestly,
plug it in.
Rookie mistake. I should have plugged it in from the start.
It's interesting with what you were saying, because we're at the point in history where there's never been more education available if you bother to look for it.
Exactly.
So I think the issue with ignorance-based racism is that it's draining. It's slowly chipping away at people, and although it's what you've said is completely bang on, and there is such a big difference, I think we're at the point now where it is time for people to realize that they need to educate themselves, right?
100%.
That it's not okay to be ignorant 100%. Anymore.
And sorry, just to touch on the George and Kencho murder, the point I was trying to make was, even though we can't prove that the intentions of the guard who shot him dead or were racially motivated, there's no way to prove that because we're not in his head. However, the circus that happened afterwards, the media circus, that is absolutely racist, absolutely racially motivated, because there were so many rumors, and when I say rumors because as a way to discredit these news outlets, who were coming out saying he was a thug, he had 32 criminal convictions, all of this stuff, and people saying he did this and he did that, etc. But then the guards released an official statement saying he had no criminal convictions. So where were these news reporters getting their information from, and what was their agenda behind pushing that sort of information out? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. There's two sides to that. One, that the fact that it's blatant lies just to stir shit up, which is horrific. And the second side of it is that none of that was a point anyway. A person's just been shot dead, like, regardless of any of that shit they're saying. They're taking away from what's happened.
Exactly.
And that they're dehumanizing that person by focusing their attention on something else.
Dehumanizing the person. And the reason I didn't want to even get into the murder being racially motivated was because I felt that it was, taken away from the fact that this young man, this brother, this son, this friend just got murdered mercilessly and didn't deserve to be murdered. Bottom line, didn't deserve to be murdered. No matter what, there's no way to justify, and nothing can justify his death that day. And, it's just so upsetting to see the divide that caused in Ireland. I'm obviously not on ground, so I can't actually get a feel for it. But online and from conversations I've had with people back home, and and just things that I've seen, even on my own, like the sort of blatant divide has been, like, racial divide has been crazy in a time where it's not actually white versus black. It's us versus, I don't even mean to sound dramatic but it's us versus the injustice of the Garda Síochána that day. Literally, we should be together against what happened that day.
Absolutely.
Not against each other. And it's just it's crazy, man. It's upsetting, very upsetting.
Yeah, of course. And honestly, I say a lot that hip hop is the original punk rock. It's protest music, and that punk rock now is becoming it doesn't speak out about these issues as much as you hear it in hip hop. And seeing someone like you who's focused on music, but actually being a voice for these things and drawing attention to them, is not only encouraging, but should be shedding a light on what people should be doing, because people do spend more time listening to podcasts about the musicians they like than they do reading the news most of the time.
100%. And what does that say about the news?
That's it. I had someone say to me the other day that they'd unfollowed a load of conspiracy theory pages because they didn't read the news, so why should they read them? And I'm like, man, that really says something about how you feel about like what's coming out. It really says you don't trust anything. Like, how are you supposed to know what's going on? And I think it's confusing for people.
100%, man. It's just the world we live in, man. You just don't know what information to trust, because anything that comes out online has gone through. You don't know what the agendas are of these publications. First and foremost, you don't know who owns them. You don't know what their stance is on certain issues, and who the editors are, what their personal prejudices are, etc. You don't know. So it's just very, very difficult, and we're in such a weird time. Not even that you could have ever. We're in such a weird time because I think people are sort of aware that they can't trust everything they see on the news or in the media, but then also there's so much information being like blurted out at such a quick pace because of social media and how proactive it is in delivering news, that people are there's just a lot of confusion, miscommunication, and false information around. It's very difficult.
For sure. And yet at the same time, there's certain issues that I feel it should be pretty easy to see through. Like when we're talking, for example, about racism in the media, like it's pretty hypocritical of people to travel the world and visit all these wonderful places and then not act as human beings towards another human being, or say something like, oh, well, there's no racism in Ireland, so why are we getting involved? That to me is like mind-boggling. It's hypocritical as hell to want to be able to travel wherever you want and not support people as human beings.
100%. Like, we're literally all in this together. Like, I don't know how many. Like, I actually don't understand why people can't get this in their heads. We need each other. A classic war strategy is to divide and conquer. So doesn't that tell you that divided we are actually vulnerable, and more reason for us to stand together in times that seem so divisive, and there's divisive elements of society literally around every corner.
For sure. Moving on to, I guess, another important issue, but just moving back towards the record you released. One of my favourite songs on the record is Patience.
Thank you.
And there is a lyric in there that says about real skills for real issues, which is something I love talking about. How do you feel about what the education system leaves people with when they leave school?
Right. I'll be honest, the education system, there's value in it. You know what I'm saying? I do believe there's value in structured education. Which is why in that same song I said I do rate education, just to let the record straight.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't help us. I'm saying it gets frustrating because we need real life skills for real life issues. Because you feel real safe in the system until real life hits you. And then you realize that a lot of the things that you actually need for real life, you haven't been equipped through school. You haven't been equipped with through school. Like, nobody, I was never in any classroom where they taught me about my credit score, for instance.
Yeah, hell yeah, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Do your taxes.
My taxes, how to file taxes, how if I want to start a business, how do I file? Like, what taxes do I need to file? What do I need to put in place? Nobody taught me this.
Nothing.
Okay, but then is an argument to be made for, the education system is creating people who are going to fit into the system that's already in place. The corporate world that's already in place. It's not made for deviance. So of course they're not going to teach you how to be self-reliant.
Or think for yourself.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They will teach you some mathematics though, and how to write an essay and structure an argument. They will do all of that, which are also useful skills to have, very useful. But I think everyone needs to be very proactive in their own self-education, because if you know just what they want you to know, then you really know nothing at all.
For sure. And I guess we are lucky now that as long as you're aware of that, we can learn to do pretty much anything we want. Unless 100%. You want to become a doctor or something super specialist, I wouldn't recommend that.
You can't really quite do that by yourself. You kind of need help.
You can educate
that
yourself,
though,
but I wouldn't practice it.
Even that, Dr. CB had proven to cure so many, terminal illnesses and incurable diseases. He had proven to cure them. And he actually went to court, the Supreme Court, and he won his case because he proved to have cured.
Who's that? I haven't heard of this. I need to read up
on Dr. CB, Dr. SEBI. I think he's from Honduras. Cool. His family is still operating to this day. He uses just herbal remedies and natural herbs to cure. I may be underselling him, but he, he does have his own remedies to cure all of these ailments. And he's been proven to cure these things. It's not just hearsay or word of mouth or, myth. It's proven.
That's ridiculous. That's awesome. This seems like another podcast episode in the making. Yeah, for sure.
They silenced Dr. CB though, like they do everything else.
Yeah, for sure. I talked to someone about the Kurdistan Revolution a while back, and everything that they were trying to put out about it kept on getting taken off, like Facebook and Twitter, and or not taken off, but just not seen, not visible by anyone. Yeah, it's crazy.
Of course, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. The world with so many avenues for free speech, there is actually indirect censorship.
Yeah, for sure. Another track that I love on the record is Mademoiselle.
Yes, come on.
But what I especially like is bringing it together with the video. The video for that was really, really cool.
Thank you, man.
What brought the idea about? Is it you and a team, someone you collaborate with?
Yes, so I have to give a lot of credit to the directors, Luna directors, the Luke and Nathan, Luke Daly and Nathan Vega, really, really creative guys. I just explained to them the concept of the song and the concept of giving people roses before they pass. And they literally took that idea and sprinted all the way to the funeral hearse thing with it. And all of a sudden, I'm in a hearse with roses in my eyes, going through Dublin City and freaking people out. So, it was crazy, man, and got a lot of great feedback from that video, and it was definitely a very fun one to shoot.
Do you enjoy that part of the process, the creating videos and adding, I guess, the art that surrounds the music?
Yes, I love making videos, but the actual process of it can be very, very tiring and tedious, man. Like the video we just shot right before I came to Nigeria was in London. It's for the song on the album Got Me. And that shoot was I think 12 or 14 hours of standing in the blistering cold, doing a million takes of every single scene, location to location, starving. There's just a lot going on, but that's kind of what you have to do.
That's it. If you want a good end result, you need to put the work in, right?
You have to put the work in. So I don't complain. So I love making the videos, man. I love collaborating with other creatives on my art, and to bring to bring like, my music to life visually as well. So I definitely love working with people on that front.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think talking about the hard work that goes into doing a music video, I think it's representative of how you work by the looks of it, because like we said, you do a lot, and it's been rewarded. Like, how did it feel? And I know you've probably talked about it a lot, but to get the FIFA 20 soundtrack.
Easily one of the best feelings I've ever felt. 100%. I literally felt like a dream. Didn't feel real at all.
I can imagine.
Especially being like a religious FIFA player since FIFA 03. It's been like, it was like giving someone everything they wish for on Christmas Day. It felt like that. And like, I just remember the year before, so many of my, like the FIFA before, FIFA 19, there were so many of the artists that I liked and that I had followed their journeys, their come-ups on the FIFA soundtrack. Like, I was like, oh, like Ocean Wisdom, for instance. I was like, yo, that's so sick. Ocean Wisdom, Coach Radical. I was like, wow, these guys really just got their song on FIFA, and now it's going to be etched into the psyches of, and like subconscious of so many players and so many people across the world. No one, like people from all over the world are going to know their song for years to come. And that's crazy. And I was like, wow, next year will be my year. And I literally just said that to my cousin, and he's the one who reminded me after I told them the news that that's what I said. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's so true. And you know, that's happened in my life a number of times, you know what I mean? The law of attraction, where things have just manifested because I've put power to the words. And yeah, man, it was an amazing feeling, man, especially the day after I got the news, sorry, I just had this crazy, I was in a bad mood, man. I had a terrible argument. I was in a bad mood, and then all of a sudden, I got the text message saying EA Sports are going to use your track Ozone for their official in-game soundtrack for FIFA 20, and I was like, what? This can't be right. I read it like a million times before I replied. I was like, no, let me just make sure I'm not missing out, and I'm not misreading this or anything. Let me just be 100% certain. And yeah, it was the case, and I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement for like 9 months or something, which was tough.
That must have been tough, not saying
I
anything.
didn't even tell my family, man. I didn't even tell my family until the day before the game was released.
You don't want to risk that going wrong. You don't want to risk someone saying
that. Because I knew I could keep my mouth shut because I knew what was at stake. But then I didn't know if they'd be able to keep their mouth shut about it. You get me? So out of excitement. So, which is fair, and that's why I knew that. So I just the best decision was to not tell anyone.
Yeah. I think you played it smart there.
For sure.
So what about looking forward to this year? I know it's pretty hard to plan with how things are planning out, right?
Yeah.
But do you have some hopes or something that you're hoping to do this year?
Well, the year started off right because my my album got nominated for the Irish Album of the Year, the Choice Awards. Yeah, so that was a good, W in itself for me. And
that's awesome, yeah.
On the music front, like releasing music, I'm just waiting for when the right time is to release music. And also the videos that I shot a video for home in Nigeria, in my home.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah, with my grandma, my dad, my cousins, my brothers. It was my friends, my old friends, and it was just awesome. It was beautiful, man. It was magical. And just even them seeing how, having not seen me for 5 years and just seeing everything I've become since the last time we were with each other, and just for them to be able to be inspired by that energy was crazy. And
you must be buzzing from that as well. It must be like a real good feeling for you that is like inspiring to do more.
100%, man. And it when other people kind of are inspired by you, that's a whole different, it's a whole different thing. You get me? So I'm so happy to be able to be that for people, and also feed off of that, and in turn be inspired by that. You get me? So that's been something I've relished this period, and I'm looking forward to having those videos out. Got Me and Home, and hopefully a couple of more things around the album, and then boom, on to the next.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And what about if things head in the right direction and fingers crossed we have live music back? Can we expect to see you on tour?
Absolutely,
Nice.
man. We've had the tour booked for months, but keep changing dates, pushing dates, because we don't know what the restrictions are gonna be, what's happening. Talking about new strains of COVID, we don't really know what's going on, but we're ready for whatever. You get me?
That's it. Well, we're waiting for it and excited to see you too.
Sure, man.
It's been so awesome getting to chat to you today.
Likewise, man.
And I'm excited to see everything that comes ahead. Is there anything that you'd like to leave people with, would like to say?
Just, justice for George and Kenshaw. I think we need to keep fighting that fight, people need to know that it's not white versus black versus white. It's literally us versus injustice, and we need to keep sight of that and do everything in our power to not further the trauma of the family while doing so. So people need to honor George the right way, and not use that as a reason to cause havoc or as a reason to be nasty to one another. But do everything we can to support the community and everyone around you, and just realize that it's us against injustice, and at any given moment one of you or someone that you love can be on the wrong end of this sort of injustice. You get me? So
that's it.
We need to be conscientious of one another. Other than that, not much else to say. Just listen to the album 2020 Division, buy some merch for 2020 Division on Bandcamp. It's there, and follow my socials, JYellowL, everywhere apart from Twitter, which is at real JYellowL. And yeah, man, just you as well. Keep doing your thing. Thank you for having me.
Cheers, dude. No, all the links will be underneath for you.
For sure.
Easy to access. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, man.
I'll hit stop recording, let everything upload, and JYellowL, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
And hopefully we will chat again soon, and I will see you on
For
tour.
sure.
I really hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. And yeah, definitely check out the album 2020 Division. It is awesome, as well as all the other work. Go get some merch. Leave the podcast a review. That would really help us out. And on a side note, if you're thinking of starting your own podcast, hit me up for some advice. I will do my best to reply. And there's also a link in the description for Buzzsprout. If you sign up with them, you get an Amazon coupon back with some money on that, and it really helps me out too. Anything else I need to say other than have an awesome week? All the links are down below, and yeah, have a good one, and I will see you next week. Bye.